Hi everyone, welcome back to Tobacco Talk Tuesdays. Caitlin here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about boredom. So talking to you a little bit about what boredom is, its relevance to smoking cessation and reduction, as well as some ideas and some potential ways to help combat boredom. So just a couple of reminders before we get started. Questions, comments, anytime throughout the live stream in the comments below, and I'll answer them as I go, but definitely before I log off for the day. Check out those comments below for additional resources that I'll be referencing throughout today's live stream as well. And lastly, if you have an activity or a strategy that's been really helpful in dealing with boredom since we've been stuck at home, please put it down in the comments below, whether you're watching this live or not, in hopes that viewers can kind of start learning from each other and get new ideas for activities that way as well. So, what is boredom? So when I was planning for this live stream, I decided to look up a couple definitions, even though I think we pretty much all have an idea of what boredom is. And I picked out a couple that I liked. So bored is feeling weary because one is unoccupied or lacks interest in one's current activity. Boredom might be defined as the state of being weary and restless through lack of interest. So very similar there. And then this last one really stuck out to me. It says, attentional failure and or perceived lack of meaning can lead to boredom. And I think that perceived lack of meaning bit is really relevant to what a lot of us are experiencing lately. And so boredom is a pretty common experience outside the pandemic. We all deal with boredom. We've all experienced boredom. We'll continue to experience boredom after the pandemic. That's not going away. No matter how many activities we participate in, no matter how busy we keep ourselves, we're all likely to experience boredom at some point. But boredom is also associated with negative emotions and may actually predict things like loneliness, anger, sadness, and worry. So why is boredom our topic today? It's something that a lot of clients have actually brought up recently with me when I'm talking with them on the phone. And in general, it's just something that I've noticed with the people around me and in myself as well. And I think we're kind of getting to this point where we're all going through a little bit of Groundhog Day syndrome. So it just kind of feels like the same thing day after day, no changes, no new developments. And it's kind of leaving us in a place where it's like, well, what's the point if we're bored or not, if we're busy or not? We always have tomorrow. Nothing's going to change. And boredom additionally has been impacted by the pandemic, and that's probably increased your boredom, but also impacts someone's ability to quit or reduce their tobacco use. So why do people smoke when they're bored? One, it's an emotional trigger. And because it's an emotional trigger, it also gives people something to do also when they're bored. It's habit, so something to fall back on or something you don't have to think about to do to keep yourself occupied. People have no distractions readily available. So if you're bored, you don't have any other distractions. Again, it's that habit. It's easy to fall back on. And it's on your mind. So this one, especially when people are dealing with cravings or with nicotine withdrawal, if smoking's already on your mind, you have nothing else to do, it's a pretty easy answer. And so boredom, like I said, is an emotional trigger to smoke, and it can also be a result of smoking cessation and reduction. And that tobacco use is actually something that takes up a lot of time throughout the day. On average, someone takes about 5 to 6 minutes to smoke a cigarette. It might be more, it might be less, just depending on the person. But if you're someone who smokes a pack a day, that's going to about 2 hours a day that you suddenly have to fill that time up. And in addition to that, it takes up specific time. So post coffee, first thing in the morning, post meals or maybe before meals, before after driving or while driving, and then before, after, or during other specific activities, just depending on your own habits and patterns. And so when someone's working on a quit plan, all of these times, both the specific times and just the general time, is suddenly open. And that can be really challenging, especially if someone's dealing with cravings or withdrawal symptoms. It can be really difficult to think of other ways to distract yourself in that moment. So this is why at Unified Tobacco Program, we try to discuss distractions, ways to stay busy, or other alternatives to smoking with our clients while we're working on a quit plan in order to kind of fight some of that boredom. So let's talk about how the pandemic has impacted boredom. The pandemic has altered our daily lives, all of our daily lives in some way or another. Even if you feel like nothing's really changed, you just kind of have the same routine as you did before. It has affected us some way or another, and whether that be, staying at home more, fewer trips places. So, just fewer trips like the store, or, fewer vacations or long distance trips to see family who don't live around us, fewer visits with friends and family who are close by, a new routine or a complete lack of routine maybe, changes in appointments, so whether it be medical or any other type of appointments or groups that you regularly attend, less activities that we're able to do, anything pretty much in public. If it's in an enclosed space or inside, that's kind of come off the table for us. And all we can really do is things that are outside, and it's winter, so a little bit challenging there. And I just think, again, with that Groundhog Day syndrome, it's kind of a feeling of what's the point? What's the point of not being bored or trying to fight boredom or trying to find things to do? There's always tomorrow, same day, one after another. And so the pandemic has really contributed to an increase in emotional triggers, including boredom, but it's also has contributed to an increase in emotional triggers that may contribute to boredom or otherwise make it challenging to consistently keep yourself engaged or distracted, such as depression, anxiety, and loneliness. So let's talk about some ways that we can cope with and combat boredom. When I was going through, again, planning this, I tried to kind of break these up into different sections in hopes that I'm just not listing off a ton of things at you guys, which would be better in a blog and just bullet pointed. So hopefully this makes sense. The first one is to build or rebuild your daily routine. So this is something we actually talked about in our very first live stream ever many months ago. And we also have a corresponding blog for this, which I have linked in the comments below. And this is something that I think will still very much prove beneficial. It provides structure in our day-to-day life, and that in turn supports our physical and mental health. And it can help fight boredom. So like I said, I've linked it in the comments below, but basically in the blog, I just touch on things like, consistent times for meals and consistent times for your sleep habits. So going to bed and waking up about the same time every day, making time for social activity and planning social connections, physical activity, including that kind of day-to-day, week-to-week, and then just activities in general that you enjoy and participating in those more on the regular, planning out times to do those specifically. And again, this doesn't need to be a major change. I'm not talking, today looks like one thing and tomorrow looks completely different after you've decided to do this. It's more about building in a new habit or two and seeing how that can help support you. Something else I threw in here is to step outside every day if you're safe and able to. And this can look like standing on your porch, your balcony, your yard, outside your apartment, pretty much wherever, or even going for a walk if you're able to. And this is something that people might already be doing, especially if they smoke. A lot of people don't like to smoke indoors, so they brave the Michigan cold to go outside. And if you're someone who is regularly stepping outside to smoke, maybe try leaving the cigarettes inside and seeing if you can just kind of go out and enjoy the fresh air. It might be beneficial to set a specific time or times throughout the day to do this. And like I said, it's all about kind of getting that fresh air, that change of scenery, something different than, four walls that you've been looking at for the last 3 hours. I'm guilty of that as well. And it's really good for your physical and mental health, and it gives you something to do every day, maybe even something to look forward to every day. Physical activity is a big one, and we're pretty much always going to bring it up. And if getting outside for physical activity right now is not really your speed, there are plenty of things that you can do indoors that will help decrease your boredom and maybe just boost your mood in general. So things like dance breaks, yoga, going up and down your stairs. If you have stairs in your home, can be a good one to get some steps in throughout the day. Amber actually created quite a few videos for Hope, our Hope program. So those are on our Facebook and I believe our YouTube page. And I've linked the Facebook ones down below in the comments. So check those out if you're interested. You don't have to be a Hope client and you don't even have to be a Unified client to enjoy them because they're right there for you on Facebook. But just YouTube videos in general as well. YouTube has a lot of great opportunities to get involved with physical activity from the comfort of your own home. Whether that be dance routines, yoga, more traditional exercises, pretty much anything you want, you can probably find it on YouTube, easily accessible. And then the next one would be social. So I know we've talked about ways to connect socially with others right now, how important that is. So scheduling things like regular calls and regular particular video chats, setting a specific time and a day for these, so you can connect with your loved ones. And this might even look like something like a virtual dinner, if you're used to kind of going over to people's houses a specific night a week or for specific holidays or other events, having a virtual dinner might be something that can kind of help replace that and still have you feel that close connection. Virtual games are another option. So things like Words with Friends, or really any other app or online-based game that you and your friends would enjoy. Watching the same movie or show together, you can kind of do this however you want. You can start it at the same time and text or maybe have a call throughout. I think a lot of streaming services now have like specific ways that you can connect your two accounts and basically have it start at the same time. I don't know. It's fancy. But you can do that however you want to do. But you could also do this with books, basically setting up sort of a virtual book club, even if it's just you and one other person. And if the weather is nice, maybe meet in an outdoor public space to walk and have a chat, health guidelines permitting, and as long as everyone's being safe. And then one of my last categories here is ways to keep your hand and mind busy. So video games are something that I've had a couple clients tell me can be beneficial because mind's focused on the game, hands are on the controller. You can't really have that time where you're bored, pick up a cigarette instead. It's a little easier that way. Similarly, games on your phone. So they have all kinds of apps and games on your phone now. Card games, word and number puzzles, interactive games, whatever you prefer. These can be particularly helpful if you're someone like me who, when they're watching TV, they feel like they need something else to do to keep their hands and their mind busy when they kind of zone off the episode of whatever you're watching. So something that can be helpful there. Journaling, puzzles, and then really any kind of art. So painting, coloring, drawing, knitting, sewing, all the like 300,000 ways to do art that I did not mention there can all be good ways to keep your hands and your mind busy. And then just a couple other ideas to consider would be meditation. And I think Amber touched on that in her video last month, and we also have some resources for that. They have guided meditation on YouTube. So if you're looking for a resource, we've probably got it. Reach out if you want to know more. Organizing your space can be a good one because it does get you physically moving as well. So a little bit of physical activity in there, and just kind of will allow you to feel a little bit refreshed, maybe a little new. Taking up a new hobby that you've been wanting to try. Again, I'm not someone who has ever said, you must have like 15 new hobbies perfected since we started quarantine and like 3 new side hustles. But, taking up a new hobby that you've been wanting to try, it will fill your time. It'll give you some time to learn something new and enjoy something new. And just overall, that feeling of newness, I think, is something we're really missing right now. So it can kind of give you a little bit of a break from the Groundhog Day syndrome. Reading, always a good option. So I know libraries have digital options. I know the Ipsy Library and the Detroit Library both do. And then some are doing pickup service as well if physical books are your preference there. And then the last one I have is checking out virtual exhibits or things like zoo cameras. So a lot of museums or other places like that have virtual exhibits that you can check out art or history and learn about the pieces in their collections and things like that if you're really someone who really enjoys those kind of things. And then if nature is a little more your speed, plenty of zoos in the area and just in the United States have, Facebook Lives and YouTube Lives and just recorded videos of their animals interacting and, getting enrichment, and you get to learn about them. So if that's something you're interested in or could be interested in, maybe check one out and see if it helps kind of combat some of your boredom. And in general, kind of before I move to wrap things up here, it can be really handy to keep a list of these ideas or any ideas that you want to try or anything that's really helpful in dealing with boredom handy. It can be on your refrigerator, your mirror, taped to your shoulder, on your window, wherever you want to put it. Having that list as a go-to reference for when you're feeling bored or when you're experiencing cravings or withdrawal from tobacco products can be a really great thing, because then you don't have to sit there and think about what you want to do or what you can do. It's already there on the list. You've already done the prep work and you're helping your future self out quite a bit. As I kind of wrap things up here, any questions, throw them in the comments now and I'll get to them before I sign off. But the overall goal here is, again, you don't have to try everything that I've just listed or anything that people put in the comments. it's a take what you need, leave what you don't, but still give new things a try kind of thing. The goal is really just to find new ways to keep yourself occupied and to keep yourself healthy and happy as we continue to deal with this pandemic and combat boredom in new ways. I just want to remind everyone, we do have some of those resources in the comments below, including the blog, some videos, and then I think some virtual tours and exhibits that I put down there as well. Tobacco Talk Tuesdays will continue every second Tuesday of the month here on Facebook and YouTube at 2 p.m. with our next one airing March 9th. As always, if there's a topic you'd like to know more about in regards to smoking cessation or even just kind of overall wellness that might be related to quitting smoking, let us know. Reach out to our tobacco team. We always want to know what you guys want to hear more about and what we can provide more information on. Myself and Amber, we're always here to answer questions, to provide support, or to provide additional resources as well. So reach out to one of us. Numbers are on the screen there. If you have any questions or if you're looking for anything specifically, let us know. And let me see, I don't think there were any questions coming through. I don't see any. So if no one has any questions, I'm going to thank you guys all for joining today. I know we had a couple people popping in and out. So thanks for joining, and we will see you next time.